Hi guys, David here, and today we're going to be talking about fire. Fire is amazing. We use it for warmth, light, to cook with. Fire is probably one of man's greatest discoveries, and it probably all started because a guy got bored some time ago and decided to rub two sticks together. You can start fires in all sorts of ways. You can use a lighter or a match, flint and steel. You can use a magnifying glass, friction, or what we're going to do today is we're going to use a ferro rod. And all these things have something in common. They create heat. They're an ignition source. And a fire really only needs three things: an ignition source, oxygen, and fuel or wood. There are things to consider when you're picking out the wood that you're looking for. For example, hardwood, such as an oak or a maple, will be harder to start, but when it burns down, it'll create coals, which you can use for cooking, and the fire will also last longer because the wood burns slower. A softer wood, such as a hemlock or a pine, will be easier to start, but when it burns down, it's going to turn to ash, and you won't really be able to cook with it. When you're out finding your sticks, look for stuff that's hanging in trees, or it's leaned up against a tree and it's not directly on the ground. If it is on the ground, it's going to soak up water, and it's not going to ignite as well if it does at all. I would say collect 2 to 3 times as much wood as you need to start the fire. If you run out, you're going to have to go out and grab more, and the fire you're trying to build is going to go out, and you're going to have to start all over from scratch. You're going to need a source of tinder. This should be some sort of light, fluffy material that'll be able to catch a spark or hold a flame pretty easy. Some of these include like pine needles or cattails. One of my personal favorites is yellow birch bark. Unfortunately, in this outing, I was unable to find a yellow birch tree to get the bark from. Another thing you can do is take your knife and shave down a dead stick, and you'll end up with these nice little light fluffy curls. Those should burn pretty well. It'll burn a lot better than if you just put the whole stick on there and try to throw sparks at it or hold a lighter up to it. There are a lot of ways to start a fire. One of my personal favorites is called an upside down fire. You're going to start this by laying your bigger pieces of wood at the base. And as you go up on the fire, the pieces that you're going to be using are going to get smaller and smaller. This kind of fire is useful for a couple of different reasons. For starters, I use 2 logs as the base of the fire. And this keeps the rest of my wood up off the ground, because this particular fire build already has the fuel, the kindling, and the tinder in it together. It doesn't require as much attention. You'll be able to start the fire, and once you're comfortable with how it's burning, you can go and set the rest of your camp up. I wouldn't leave it unattended, but you can work on building your shelter. Once you're done with those camp chores, you should be able to come back to a bed of coals and get right to cooking. I'll be able to start my camp up, and at the end I'm going to leave a fast forward of the fire burning down at the end of the video with a timer, just to show how long this fire will burn without having to add more stuff onto it. This fire is almost burned out, but it still burned for a while, and if I use bigger pieces at the bottom when I was laying the foundation, it would be going for much longer. I would have had plenty of time to set up my camp before I even needed to tend to this again. And And as you can see, there is coals that are going at the bottom, so I could add more to this if I wanted to, and it would fire right back up. But it's still going pretty good.
Leave a comment down below about what gets you outside. I hope you learned something that you can go and use on your next adventure. Come back and I'll see you next time.